It is 7 a.m. A quorum is present, and the meeting has been duly called and posted in the time and manner required by law. I'd like to invite Amanda Castro Christ, Executive Director of Communications and Community Relations. I was giving you more credit. Thank you.
Somebody called me Amanda Christie this week too, so it's fun. So good morning, Dr. Rollo, President Curry, and Board of Trustees. As you know, March is recognized as Youth Art Month, and every year the National Art Education celebrates this month in recognition of the skills developed through visual arts experiences. The celebration encourages support for quality school art programs and promotes art material safety. This year's theme is The World Needs Art, highlighting the importance of a robust art education program. As project-based learning, art helps our students build confidence and the skills they need to be successful in life. Art includes numerous transferable skills like creativity, innovation, problem-solving, communication, and collaboration. Those prepare our students for a place in the workforce across a wide range of industries and occupations. They're performers, musicians, and artists, but also they begin careers in things like marketing and advertising, game design, animation, interior design, fashion, architecture, and museum studies, and as landscape artists, urban planners, and commercial designers. Many of our students also go on to study in areas like medicine, education, law, and engineering. Art education provides so many benefits. It broadens perspectives and increases civic engagement. It improves social and emotional growth and memory and lowers stress and anxiety. A robust art education also has been linked to higher academic performances, including improved reading, writing, and STEM scores, and increased student attendance in high school graduation. In fact, a recent report from the National Endowment for the Arts shows that high school participation in extracurricular arts activities was associated with positive outcomes when it comes to math scores, high school GPAs, high school graduation, and college GPAs. We're proud to celebrate March with the City of Lubbock as Arts Education Month, and today I'm honored to introduce the mayor of our wonderful city, Mark McBrayer, who's here this morning for a special proclamation.
Thank you, Amanda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Board, happy to be here, always happy to be here. I spent yesterday with some of your pre-Kers at Bean, reading to them, and so I almost feel like I'm just as much the mayor of the school district as I am of the city sometimes. But I grew up in the city, I grew up in the public schools, and it means a lot to me, so I'm always happy to take opportunity to do whatever I can to reward you for your efforts here in the Lubbock School District to educate our kids. Y'all do a fine job. I had a great education, and in my particular case, the art form that I've really appreciated all my life was music, and had probably one of the most profound experiences in my life in the choral department at Monterey High School under Mr. Ramsey. So those things stick with you all your life. And I see over here we probably have some budding Van Goghs and Matisses and Picassos. I don't know. There's some great art over there. There's all kinds of ways people can find to express something that's inside themselves. And so appreciate the fact that you recognize the continuing importance of art to education of our kids. So let me read this recognition. Whereas Lubbock Independent School District recognizes art as an important element for the complete and balanced education and disciplines that help our youth grow and express themselves in a healthy manner, and LSD proudly offers dance, music, theater, and visual arts, 4 separate and distinct disciplines with their own body of knowledge and skills. And whereas learning in and through the arts enables students to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills, imagination, creativity, alternative ways to communicate and express feelings and ideas, and cross-cultural understanding, which supports academic success across the curriculum, personal growth outside of the classroom, and friendly competition to boot. And whereas arts education is essential for all students in Lubbock ISD as part of a well-rounded education, and arts can transform our schools into havens of creativity, exploration, and places where students want to learn, teachers want to teach, and all members of the learning community are more engaged and motivated. And whereas it's appropriate during the month of March to recognize Lubbock ISD and to thank them for all their achievements and for providing a quality learning environment for the arts of all grade levels within our city. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the great city of Lubbock, hereby recognize March as Arts Education Month in Lubbock and encourage all citizens to support these young artists and performers to enjoy their work at public exhibitions and performance events and support the arts this month and throughout the year. Dated this 12th day of March, signed by me and all members of our City Council. Thank you again very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor McBrayer. We appreciate your time this morning to provide this special recognition. As we conclude this recognition, I want to take a moment to thank our Executive Director of Fine Arts, Cesar De Leon, and our Fine Arts Coordinator, Neely Hawley, and our entire fine arts team across the district. More than 90% of our students are involved in some type of fine arts programming, and this team does an incredible job of making sure that our campuses and our teachers have the resources and support they need to engage with their students and nurture their creativity, learning, and growth. Thank you for all you do for every child every day.
Howdy, board. So nice to see everybody this lovely morning.
You're the only guy that I don't have to introduce.
Oh, I appreciate you, President Curry. But Mayor, thank you so much for those very kind words. Art does make a difference in our children. It is one of the things we're very passionate about. I'm very passionate about. I do think I have the best job in the world. And here we are celebrating some students in March, Arts Month. The very first student I want to tell you about has two big awards. The first one of our awards is in collaboration with the Texas Art Education Association. The Bullock Museum in Austin is featuring 100 works from across Texas. Y'all, that's 100 from across the great state of Texas. In March, Lubbock ISD is proud to share that a student from Coronado High School was selected to participate in the statewide exhibition. This feature piece, Sundial Nightmare, will be on display at the Bob Bullock Museum in Austin from March 1st through the 29th. And we're very proud of Aaliyah Garcia. Additionally, team, Aaliyah is being recognized for her work through the Visual Arts Scholastic event. She has a work going to the state level. Works also going to the state level from Coronado High School. We have Ashlyn Jala Seckinger. And let's say we can take a group picture.
Here goes. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. And one more.
From Monterey High School, we have Nicholas Alsop. We have Franklin Cademan, Lillian York, and Jaslyn Cortez.
We were in the back. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
a little bit more this way. Good. Right there. And here goes. Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
From Lubbock High, we have Jessica Hamby. Phoebe Dubose. Briggs Hilliard. Veronica Zurovets. And Noor Mazaria. And now a group picture with the Lubbock High students.
Goes. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. And last one. Good.
Yeah, and just say they weren't able to be here, but we want to honor them. Yes.
President Curry, we have our last recognition for fine arts, but our student could not join us this morning. So it is still very much worth mentioning during March that one of our students from the Talkington School for Young Women Leaders was recognized at the state level by Texas Thespians for having incredible support in theater. This one is theater-based. And we're honored to share that Madison Arms from Talkington earned the Texas Scholar Award for the 2025-2026 school year. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Shelley, you want to take?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar. Appreciate it. Continuing with the recognitions, I'd like to invite Amy Amy Baker, Executive Director of Career and Technical Education, to the podium. Amy?
Good morning. One day I'm going to match Cesar's enthusiasm at 7 a.m. in the morning. President Curry, Dr. Rello, Board of Trustees, I am excited to present to you today some outstanding students from an organization called FCCLA, which stands for Family, Career, Community Leaders of America. These students all placed at the regional competition and will be advancing to the state competition. These students represent 4 Lubbock ISD high schools and 1 middle school. And to give you some context, FCCLA is a student organization affiliated with our family and consumer science programs. So through competitive events, leadership opportunities, FCCLA empowers students to develop essential skills related to family relationships, nutrition and wellness, leadership, community engagement, and career preparation. And these are incredible students. I want to first start with our students from Mackenzie Middle School that represented us extremely well, as you can tell by the line of students here. So our state qualifiers this year are Amelia Garcia, Mila Perez, Exilia Schultz, Jaden Rodriguez, Big smile. Carlos Martinez. Victory Sunjo. Faith Garza Salinas. Maibel Garza. Sindel Cavazos. And Chloe Castillo. There were 3 other state qualifiers for Mackenzie who could not join us today, but I do want to mention their incredible advisor who spends so much time fundraising on their behalf and helping prepare these students for the future. Their advisor is Miss Kyle Miller. We're going to take a Mackenzie group picture.
All people in the back.
Come on, don't be shy.
Hey, I'm a photographer.
Flip your certificates, front row. Here goes. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. And last one. Good.
Congratulations, Mackenzie. Coming into the room will be our high school state qualifiers. And we are going to start with our qualifiers from Coronado High School. It looks like, there we go, like maybe she's not here. Naima Fuller and Cambrea Wilson. And I think her advisor is out in the hall, but I want to recognize their advisor, Miss. There we go, perfect. Miss Amanda Dorton. Yes.
Here goes. Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
Congratulations, Cambrai. From Lubbock High School this morning, our state qualifiers are Bailey Smoot, and Anna Rose. And we'd like to invite her advisor to come up, Miss Maria Teresa Leos Doomer.
Yeah, he's right.
Goes. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Good.
Great to see you.
Next up, we have our FCCLA state qualifiers from Monterey High School. We're going to start with qualifier Alexandria Nahara. Cadence Hutchinson. Ayana Pribble. Aubrey Rodriguez. Aiden Flores. And the advisors for Monterey High School are Alyssa Martinez and first-year teacher Amanda Escadon.
Back up here. Ladies.
Good. And if you hold the certificate a little bit higher. Good. All right, here goes. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Good.
I get to stay up here for just a little bit longer, if that's okay. Am I good to move on to the next group?
Do we have all the, yes, ma'am.
Okay, it is now my privilege and honor to recognize our state qualifiers, some of our state qualifiers from Skills USA. So Skills USA is the district's largest career and technical student organization with more than 200 Lubbock ISD students who recently competed at the district competition. We're proud to announce that 118 students qualified to advance to the state competition in Corpus Christi next month. Today, we will recognize outstanding students from the Monterey High School and Lubbock High School chapters of Skills USA. To start from Lubbock High School, our state qualifiers, James West. You're not here today? Okay. Jet Hurst. Macias Grandades Sacida.
That's pretty good, Amy.
I tried. Adrian Marino. Sean Gossett. Kane Orta. Andrew Harris. Ty Walker. They're like, no. Dagan Jones. There we go. Jaden Collins. And Nathan Wang. There were 13 state qualifiers from Lubbock High School, led by their advisor, Mr. Chris West, Dr. Chris West.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. And last one. Good.
Our last group of state qualifiers for CTE today are the Skills USA qualifiers from Monterey High School. This is our cosmetology division from Monterey High School. We'll start this morning with Arissa Teal. Zayla Gonzalez. Elijah Gomez. India Chambers. And Mikkel Edwards. These students were also supported by first-year teacher and amazing cosmetology instructor, Miss Sarah Perez. Come on up. All right, we're gonna do group.
Ladies, gentlemen, back up here. Last picture, I promise. Unless Chris makes y'all take that.
Then hold it. Good. Here goes. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Good.
Congratulations.
I was just wondering what you were saying. That's like, we're joking.
He's done. He's all right. Oh, yeah, sure. We get to sit. There's a portion of this. Okay. Did I get yours? Okay.
Do we have any members of the public who have signed in to address the board regarding any posted agenda items? No? Okay, we will move on. I'd like to invite Misty Reber, Chief Academic Officer, to the podium to begin presentation on leadership pipeline. Thank you, Misty.
Great, good morning. It's great to see all of you. We're really excited to share with you an update from all of our project leads about the leadership pipeline in Lubbock ISD. So our goal is that we have 2 to 1 ready leaders to fill each position as we look into the future and we grow leaders. We're going to talk about, we're going to talk this morning about all of the different pathways that you see on the slides, that you're going to see in just a moment on the slides. But I do want to share with you a few stories that help indicate some of those pieces. So we had a job fair this last Saturday. We had so many people from across the state of Texas that came to our job fair. And we had people that entered our job fair who are seasoned, who are veteran, who are already sitting in the seats of leadership. And the words that they said when they came in was, we heard that Lubbock ISD was the place to grow leaders. We heard that Lubbock ISD was the place that provides support. We heard that Lubbock ISD was the place that mentored. And to say that these people were not thrilled and excited as we walked around the Monterey cafeteria is a little bit of an understatement. We got a little excited by the end of the day Saturday, because what you're going to see today is not just a bunch of project leads, not just a bunch of ideas, but you're going to see action. You're going to see things that have taken place, that we are growing leaders. We are also creating a reputation of a place that grows leaders, that mentors and support. Leaders are not only teacher leaders, assistant principals, and principals, but you're going to hear about central office leaders. You're going to hear about every person in our organization that has the opportunity to learn and grow. And what we know is that the number one difference in a child's life is their teacher. Number 2 is their principal. And we know that great principals create great schools. And so we are changing the trajectory through what we are doing with the leadership pipeline. We're really excited about this work. So this morning, you're going to hear about the leadership definition. You're going to hear about leader levels. You're going to hear about campus partnerships and structural roles. And you're going to hear more words and acronyms than you know what to do with. But the message around each one of those is that each piece of the project is working toward the same goal, and each piece is offering things to our community and our teachers. So we love to share with our classroom teachers that when you come in as a brand new teacher in our district, we will grow you, we will help you, and we will give you opportunity here. If you want to lead, if you want to teach, we also want you to be the very best teacher that you can be, and we honor and love and respect that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Ken. We're going to begin with our leadership definition.
Good morning. As Misty shared, we are excited about the work that we've been doing with our leadership definition and how it intersects with a lot of different work streams in our district. Again, I want to give a shout out as we talk about our leadership definition. Number one, to our professional development office who helped to develop some of the information, the toolkits that some of our principals use on a monthly basis. Our communications department with Amanda Castro Chris coming in and helping assist us with getting the message out, along with Elizabeth Roop, who also put together videos that we're able to highlight and showcase people within our district that are living the leadership definition each and every day. Our principals who use these resources to help push this message down to our teachers, our paraprofessionals throughout the month through their meetings and newsletters, and also your human resource department. So one of the tasks that we had in trying to expand our leadership definition was the understanding amongst our teachers within our district. So our leaders within the district, our principals, teacher leaders, assistant principals, had a better understanding as time went on about our leadership definition. And we could see that has also, using the toolkit and all the different resources that we have, that's actually helped to increase the knowledge and understanding within our teachers in the district about our leadership definition. The two questions that were asked is, I understand how my district's definition of great leadership applies to my role, and my district has clearly defined the characteristics of great leadership. So again, through the hard work of just a lot of people within our district, we see that understanding really grow within our district. The successes that we have had this year is that we have consistently utilized and referenced across multiple settings, platforms, and departments. Our districts provided those resources that our leaders use and are accessible. Our leadership definition is embedded in our components within the hiring process. It's integrated into our district's leadership development programs and aligned with our organizational goals and priorities. And it's recognized by all groups as being incorporated into daily practice and fully internalized. The things that we'll look at going into next year is just making sure that as we continue to grow our leadership definition, that it also not only applies to our teachers, but to all people that work within our district, including our paraprofessionals and support staff. And it's just continue to be mindful of our campus level realities, making sure that we're providing resources that are easily accessible by our principals to be able to use with our teachers and paraprofessionals. And now I will turn it over to Beth.
Good morning. I'm going to talk to you about our leader levels. And this pathway is really about growth and development of all of our leaders to ensure that they are working at their appropriate level. What does it look like to be a leader of others, a leader of leaders, and leader of organization? And so this growth and development of our leaders really happens through our principal PLCs, teacher leader learning sessions, and our central office learning sessions. And you can see up there the successes of the year. But I'd especially like to highlight the central office piece, that they collectively worked together this year to create profiles of what it looks like to be a leader at central office in various departments. And from that, we were able to develop and roll out our 360 feedback survey, which is an opportunity for our leader of leaders to receive feedback not only from their supervisor, but also from those that work for them, and have opportunity to reflect on things that are going well and maybe some opportunities for growth. So that was really exciting to get to do. I know this has a lot of small print that you cannot read, but basically what this data told us is that we are continuing to see growth in our feedback around development opportunities that we provide, and teachers and leaders see the importance of it and the value of it. So that was really exciting to see. And then something that we want to continue to work on for next year is to differentiate our learning for our teacher leaders. We have some that are new to that role and are returning. So being mindful of the skills that they have and making sure that we're differentiating that learning. And then to continue to develop a culture of learning around our central office profiles. It's definitely new work, and bringing them together to learn is a new thing for us. So just developing that culture of importance for that. I think next is Crystal.
Okay, good morning. The vacancy planning cycle that you see up there is really a process, forward thinking, as we look at how we strengthen our leadership pipeline. It's not about pre-selecting our principals and our leaders, but it's really about cultivating a pool of people as we look forward to our applicants. So by forecasting these vacancies, we're looking at historical data, and we're also looking at anecdotal data, really in about investing in our people and identifying leaders that are shaping our campuses as well as our district and community. So on March the 2nd, we created an opportunity for people inside of our district and outside of our district to come in and hear what we are doing as far as our hiring of assistant principals and principals in our district. So we were really unsure of the number of people that would show up. We didn't know if we would have 1 or 5, but we left that night really excited about the number of people who showed up. We had people in our district. We had people outside of our district. We had someone from the Dallas area. We had someone from the Wichita Falls area. And so it's just really exciting to see the number of people that are interested in what we're doing to grow leaders. You know, and Misty alluded to this, we want to be a destination district where principals and assistant principals are coming because they know the work that we're doing, not just to get them hired, but the work that this whole process is doing in developing leaders in our district. I will say one of the special highlights of that evening was one of our principals that got up and spoke. So it was not just about what we're saying that we're doing, it's what we're actually doing. And so she was able to talk about her experience from the hiring process, because she went through the hiring process that we're using now, and then from the onboarding and the experience or the opportunities that PD is providing as well. So it was just a great opportunity to showcase who we are and what we believe in Lubbock ISD. So the executive principals, it wasn't just HR, so executive principals were there, PD was there, and just provided a whole holistic approach of what we're doing in the district. So we're really proud of the strong principals that we have in place right now in our district, and we are just really committed to continuing to work on our pipeline of people as we continue to have 2-to-1 ready leaders in all of our principal vacancies that we have across the district. So I will turn it over to Amy.
Good morning. So as you know, our onboarding program, this was our first year to start it, and we've used the 70-20-10 model. So 70% of their time has been spent with on-the-job training, and that we've supported through things like our 90-day entry plan, as well as our month-at-a-glance yearly checklist. We also spent 20% of our time with our mentors, and we paired our new principals up with successful sitting principals, often outside of their feeder pattern, so that they could form some relationships and connections, and we've provided ongoing monthly support. We've also done 10% of our learning, which started off with an intense 3-day summer training, and then we've also moved to monthly trainings. Those monthly trainings have been led by successful campus principals, and we held our last one last night at Preston Smith, or yesterday afternoon at Preston Smith. It was led by J.C. Underwood and Ryan Rodriguez, and they worked with our folks and talked about vision casting. And so after each one of these sessions, we solicit lots of feedback from the participants because we want to make sure that we are meeting their needs and using their time wisely. So that, along with the feedback that we received from our focus group with Holdsworth, that feedback put us at a composite 73 score, which we feel like is a strong place for our inaugural year, but it still gives us lots of room to grow. Some of the pieces and successes that they shared with us were that the updated systems provided a great how-to guidance and intentional pacing. It prevented our new leaders from being overwhelmed, much more supportive than we've been in previous years, and the mentoring, onboarding, and professional development had really provided some sustained support. This aligned very closely with what we've seen from our monthly feedback from our folks, and so they really have appreciated having those tools. They love the time with their mentors, but what they've really enjoyed are those monthly trainings where they've been able to pick the brains of folks with boots on the ground. JC Underwood just did an outstanding job yesterday sharing all of her tools. She's built very strong systems through her school, shared that with them, and so they were able to walk away with things that they can implement immediately. Some of the considerations that we've seen through both pieces of feedback that we'd like to maybe have a self-assessment moving forward so we can do some of those pieces, but also how do we utilize our time? Time is the one commodity that they don't have, and we'd love to get them together all the time, but they don't have the time to do that. So we will take all of the feedback from those pieces, and we will meet with our central office staff, and we will meet with our different departments so that we can plan that summer piece as well as the folks for next year, the stuff for next year. And with that, we hope to better dovetail some things. Maybe we can meet more during leadership meetings or those things so that we can protect their time and use it wisely. But the one thing we're really excited to share with you today is we feel like this has been such a success that we'd like to expand it to our assistant principals. And so Jack, Kim Callison, and Crystal and I went to Holdsworth 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we did an AP onboarding sprint. And so we are going to start the rollout of the AP onboarding piece. And so this will look very similar to the principal piece. It will also follow the 70-20-10 model. The formal learning will be a 2-day piece at the end of July this summer. And instead of having them paired with a mentor, we will be doing some additional coaching training with our campus principals who will work with those new APs to develop a plan for them for their 90-day entry plan. And then we will also look at some key on-the-job development pieces. We will have a checklist and some supports for them like that as well. So this is where we're headed, and so we will be soliciting feedback from sitting APs, both brand new and veteran, to help us really fine-tune this as we get ready to roll it out this summer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. This dovetails real nicely into our high potential leadership pathway. As you know, we have a quick reminder, we have 8 assistant principals who applied for and were accepted into a high potential program. They've spent the entire year going through training, monthly group gatherings where they get pieces of learning, and then either with Beth Barrage or myself, the principal and the assistant principal in the program meet in a triad to process the learning and determine how to apply that in their daily activities to prepare them to get a little bit more global view of what it's like to be a leader in LISD or be a leader on a campus. Because we do so much work as an assistant principal where we're on the floor. We're on the ground and we're doing the work and we're moving from place to place, and what we want to do is we want to be able to have our assistant principals get that principal perspective where they move to the balcony for a moment and get a more global view of how a school is run and how leadership should be embedded. And so by doing that, what we did is Beth broke it into monthly chunks that these APs can digest and then process. We talked about emotional intelligence. We talked about strategic planning, leading through leading others, systems and data analysis, and then the key to communication, and then digging in finally with our last one this past month, which was hiring and talent acquisition, which meets with everything else that everyone is talking about here, developing a leadership pipeline. And finally, what they do for their grand finale is they prepare a problem of practice that they've been working on all year in conjunction in the triad with their principal and with us and in their group meetings, where they actually have a practical, applicable problem of practice that is designed around an issue on their campus that they can then come to central office. They will present this in a formal presentation about what they're doing with their principal and how that's going to impact their campus, and that's how we're developing our high potential pathway.
So on the left here, you can see a summary of what Jack talked about, but I also want to highlight our new leadership pathway cohort. And these sessions are designed for aspiring teacher leaders and aspiring assistant principals. You can see the topics that we have covered this year. These sessions were open to all staff members who might in the future be interested in becoming a teacher leader or an assistant principal. And they're really focused on helping them develop the skills that they will need to be successful in these roles and make that transition from, if they're serving it currently as a teacher, what it would look like to transition to a teacher leader role, or whatever role they may be in, because we know that those skills and time and values are different. Again, I know this is very small, so I'm going to give you the highlights of this. The data on the top is from these sessions, and over 50% of the people that attended are interested in the assistant principal role. There were about 85 that attended over the course of the year. 19% are interested in the teacher leader role, and about 28% are interested in both roles at some point. So that was really exciting. And they rated the sessions very highly and provided great feedback for us and encouragement that we were doing things that were very timely and helpful for them. Zooming back out to think about all of our high potential leaders, whether they are ready to become principals or looking to become assistant principals or teacher leaders, we recognize that next year this aligns to what Amy was talking about with the AP onboarding, that we want to really want to empower all of our principals to take their APs through what we call an on-the-job stretch activity. So what's something that can really stretch them beyond their regular role and get them thinking about what it might look like and sound like to become a principal. So not just the people that are in our cohort, but any assistant principal have that opportunity. And then also based on feedback, we want to provide some opportunities. Our cohort right now has job shadowing opportunities where they go to different campuses. They get to see different leaders and see how different cultures and different schools work. And so the feedback said that more of our leaders would like that opportunity. So we want to provide that, some optional time for them to go to other campuses and learn from their peers and see what different campuses look like through that job shadowing opportunity.
Good morning. Morning. I feel like Robin and I get to work with the very best pathway because we work with our teacher leaders. Just a reminder, we have 14 teacher leaders across the district. They serve Miller, Bean, Atkins, Cavazos, Coronado, and Monterey. And these are 50-50 coaches. They teach half-time and they coach others half-time. So their responsibilities really are encompassed in two major areas. They're coaching other teachers, particularly those new teachers in their building. They have frequent one-on-ones. They observe, they provide feedback, they model for those teachers, and they're really working on helping build classroom culture with our teachers, especially our new ones. They also lead PLCs. They work to build teams on their campuses, and they work closely with their administrators to monitor all those systems. What this has done is really built that community, not only within the campus, but then across campuses with the other leadership teams and the other teacher leaders. So this year, we've had several great accomplishments with our leaders. We meet once a month. We started that actually back in June of last year, and then had a couple of days in August, and then we meet monthly with them. And we just had our very last one for the year. And what we have found through not only our interaction with them, but a district-wide survey, some focus groups that we've done both in the fall and the spring, and some interviews, we have found that we have stronger distributive leadership on our campus. So our teacher leaders are treated really as that first line of support for our teachers, and that's allowed our principals and our assistant principals to really dig into their roles, and we're able to coach more teachers on the campus. They're able to tackle some of those other parts of their job because they know they have those teacher leaders. There's clearer roles and ownership. The leadership responsibilities have been really defined on each campus of who does what and who owns what. And once again, that allows for everybody to be more effective in their role. It's improved culture, not only within the campus, and the confidence of those teacher leaders. But over the course of the year, we've really had a lot of cross campus collaboration, especially at elementary and middle school, where we only have one or two teacher leaders on a campus. It's hard being the only teacher leader on a campus. But over the course of the year, they have built such collaborative relationships that they are constantly sharing ideas with one another. We have calibrated on each other's campuses, and they have become a resource across the district, not just within. We've shown a lot of growth with our teacher leaders over the course of the year. They have become really incredibly strong, respected, and effective in seeing their teachers regularly. Some things that we're looking for as we work, we are going to continue to work with them, probably not quite at the same frequency we have this year, but they will serve as the model for cohort 2 that we actually began interviews just this week with. Some things that we're working on is we want to have a clearer coaching framework. Many of these teacher leaders they're coming straight out of the classroom, and sometimes they don't know exactly what to coach on. So we're going to provide some more structured training around that. We're going to we've redone our scope and sequence for the year. What we found is they wanted training earlier. So we've worked on that and made some adjustments. We are going to do some more time around PLC and coaching support. And then as new teacher leaders are added, we want to make sure that we're supporting the principals to help include them. And what does that look like on the campus? And then lastly, we're going to look at some aligned campus walkthroughs and ways to capture data that are consistent across all of our campus. As I said before, we have started interviewing for the second round of of teacher leaders with cohort 2, and Kami is going to talk about that. Martha is going to talk about that.
All right. Kami and I have had the wonderful privilege of getting to work with the principals of cohort 2 of these structural roles. We've been working with them since October. We went down and got to see this in action in Lockhart, which was really great. Principals appreciated getting to talk to people who've been doing this work for a little while from another district and see it really happening real time. Then we came back and started talking about timelines for communication with their staff, how to do some needs assessment to find out where they most need the support from a 50-50 on their own campus. In December, they did roll that out to their campuses to let them know about the hiring process and make themselves available to people who are interested in applying. We also talked about the instructional feedback loop and really how they make that shift from being a principal who's in the weeds and maybe on the dance floor a little bit more to being on the balcony, like Jack said, and what are the systems they need to have in place to make sure they're supporting that shift in leadership for all of the different people who will be impacted. In January, we got to see an example of a model instructional leadership team and break down how that shifts with that newly added role of that 50-50. They also got to hear from cohort 1 principals, which is probably their favorite part in the process, getting to hear from people who are going through that this year and figuring out what works and what doesn't work, who can give them those insider tips and tricks. We also talked about just really practically what does it look like day to day with the 50-50, and then making sure they were ready for the hiring process, which Kim mentioned started this week. We did campus visits with cohort 1 again in February. Again, the principals really appreciated that, getting to see some of the systems that those campuses have built and made their own from what Holdsworth had given them. And then we started the interviews with the teacher leader candidates. We had over 40 applicants for this round of structural roles. So we were really excited about that and really high quality applicants. So it'll be a competitive process for sure. The 8 campuses that are part of cohort 2 are the ATC, Bayless, Brown, Carmona Harrison, Evans, Hutch, Lubbock High, and McCool. They'll get ongoing support after they are able to select their 50-50, so they'll still be part of a PLC moving forward to be able to reflect on how that's rolling out on their campus. Okay, Kami is now going to come talk about campus leadership team.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
This is campus leadership team. You have 3 cohorts. You have 4.1 who has been in the program for 2 years. These are your campuses that travel to Holdsworth and go through leadership development and work on PDSAs, which I'll talk about in just a second. 4.2 and 4.3 just wrapped up this year, their first year, and have 1 more year to go. But you see which campuses those are. And so cohort 2 is currently in cycle 2 of what we call plan, do, study, and act or adjust. So they started off looking at a problem on their campus that they needed to address, and then they develop a plan of action around that. They study how that's going on their campus, and then they adjust as they go. They've done that once, and now they're coming back into that to look at it again, what they call cycle 2. Most of your campuses are looking at math. Many of them are looking at math by a single grade level, and some of them are looking at math by subgroup. And so some touching on your economically disadvantaged population, and others touching on your students that are receiving special education services. And then Talkington is actually looking at self-belonging, and those students who are coming in to Talkington for the first time and incorporating themselves into the culture successfully. Is it?
What we want you to see is lots of quantitative and qualitative data that shows that there's tons of alignment. This is a lot of work represented in what they do every day. And the beauty of that is that we are growing leaders in Lubbock ISD, and we know that teachers stay for great leaders. And we are growing great leaders both within and outside of our district. So thank you.
Thank you, Misty, and thank you to this team who have led this work. As you can see, there are a lot of work streams that are part of this, and it has been a wonderful partnership with Holdsworth, but I hope you can see that Lubbock ISD really owns the work. We just have that guidance from our Holdsworth team that comes and supports us, but our goal is to have all of this embedded in our systems and processes by the time our partnership is over next year. It's just part of who we are in business.
So this has been ongoing for a while. I know that this has taken, it's not an overnight process. And having seen this from the start, well, actually before this was implemented and where we are now is amazing. So it's so rewarding to see, and it just shows you that you can recruit for talent, you can have talent in the classroom and in the leadership levels, but it's about culture, creating that culture, and intention. And you can talk the talk all day, but walking the walk like you guys are doing from what you've learned and you're putting your heart into it is what is going to make this district change and improve. So thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? So when you're choosing the cohorts for the 50-50 teacher leaders, so do you select a campus and then people from across the district will apply to be at that school? Okay, so it's not, okay.
The campus is applied. So in cohort 1 and cohort 2, the campus principal went through an application process. In cohort 1 and cohort 2, the principal went through an application process to apply. And then once they are a part of that, then teacher leaders apply. We are excited this year. They are applying from across our district and outside of our district.
Yeah,
So this
okay.
week, as
That's
we
what
have
I was-
interviews, we are also taking external candidates that would like to come back home to
Yeah.
Lubbock ISD to be a teacher
I was trying
leader.
to subtly ask that question, so
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
what I was looking for.
Yes, ma'am, we have both.
And one other thing I heard Jack say, and let me make sure I'm feeding this back correctly, but I know over many years we hear people who go from AP to a principal role and then for whatever reason they just weren't quite ready. What I think I heard Jack say is that this provides an opportunity to see where those gaps are and provide that candidate. Okay, I see nodding heads. Okay. So,
Proactive with some of the responsibilities that require a little more global view that an assistant principal may not get traditionally.
okay.
And that's the stretch activities that Beth Barrett's
Yeah.
talking about.
Okay. Thank you. That
We've
clarifies.
also heard Amy talk about what we're referring to as onboarding.
Right.
It's a year of mentorship after you become in the seat of a principal, so you also get support
Right.
that first year.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, great questions and great comments. I love the intentionality of it. You know, I hope to what Nancy just asked, and I think Jack just responded. I do hope that we're identifying some of the pitfalls that, you know, some rock stars have fallen into, that are still great people, either with our district or can still be great people with our district. Maybe we didn't set them up in the best way, or maybe they encountered something that we had not planned for. And so I love that that's part of it, because I think to not acknowledge some of the failures, whether on our side, their side, whatever the part is, I don't think would fit in with trying to grow leaders if we're not being real in that too. But the intentionality of trying to allow people to grow beyond their current position, I think that's the only way you keep really good people. And so I appreciate what we're doing, and I think it's, you know, has it worked in every single case? No, but I think there's a number of cases where it's the transition has been beautiful and has helped lead other people into that same path. And I really love the teacher coach, and I'm what's the 50-50 or like I think that is I think that's the only way we are going to encourage awesome teachers to stay in the classroom, because I don't blame them. I mean, if you're a stud and you want to make more money, there's only really one way to do that, and it's to move up the ladder. And so I love that we're given another opportunity for them to you know, do things that a different position might do while still doing what they love and are really good at. So,
And if they are TIA eligible teachers, they get to keep their TIA money while they're spending half of their time coaching others.
So with that, with the intentionality, with the success, everything that's happening here, what are we doing in terms of recruiting and using this as a tool to share with external, like to try to recruit high-performing external people?
So, but I would like to begin with a shout out to this beautiful woman over here, Amanda, because and the coordination with this team. So when we talk about the job fair, when we talk about Crystal having the night that we ask people, so you want to be a leader in Lubbock ISD, we have pamphlets, we have social media, we have things that we're attaching to our email that we send out. We're being intentional to make sure that every opportunity, when Kevin goes, he's not in here, when Kevin goes to every job fair that he goes to, he says things about, I know you're a first-year teacher or you're beginning your career, but in Lubbock you could grow into becoming a leader. So let me talk to you about what that looks like. Let me talk to you about support. And so some of the graphics that you see in here, the things that you see online, we're using those on a regular basis to help people understand that it could be that you're in a position and you want to become a leader, or you're a first-year teacher and you want to come to a place where we have incredible support, we have wraparound services to help you, and then we also grow you into your leadership role in the future.
One thing that Crystal and Kevin did at the job in preparation for this year's job fair, which I have to reiterate, it's the best one since I've been in this role. I mean, it had a different layout, a completely different feel. But one of the things that Kevin did, I think this was Kevin's baby, Crystal. Yes, is we have teacher ambassadors that were there. They had T-shirts. Some of them are newer in their career. Some of them were veterans. But they greeted every single person who came through the door. And as they were walking them around and showing them and giving them the lay of the land, they were talking about growth opportunities and support in Lubbock ISD. And the fact that we had veteran teachers from across the state, but particularly our neighbors, that came to the job fair and said, I want the support that you guys provide. I want the opportunity to be a TIA teacher. I'm very interested in your teacher leader 50-50 role. I mean, it's working. The word is getting out.
Good. Awesome.
So as far as the recruiting piece, one of the things that we also did is anybody that's applied in our district that we have an application on file, we've also sent information out through there regarding the job fair, and then regarding the night, if anyone's applied for an assistant principal or principal role in the last several years, we sent that information about the March 2nd night that we had, sent it out to all of those people. I actually had someone reach out to me from Colorado. So it's not just here locally or even just here in Texas. And I think one of the things also is just word of mouth. You know, we sometimes go to a restaurant because someone else told us that it was a great restaurant. And we have people right now that are sending people to either our EPs or to our HR office that says, they're saying like, I have a friend who's working so-and-so, and they're interested in either coming to Lubbock or coming back to Lubbock. And so I think those things are a big piece that are helping us recruit people as well. So we're really being very intentional, I would say, about our recruiting and going to job fairs and not just talking to people about come work for us as a teacher, even though they're going to be a brand new teacher because they're just now graduating, but we're talking about our leadership pathways that we have. And so we're just really being very intentional about that in our recruiting.
Crystal, will you talk about letters of intent for just a moment?
Yes. So that really goes on the teacher side, but actually we do have 2 letters of intents right now for administrators who have gone through an application interview process. And so we don't have an exact position for them right now, but they've committed to come to Lubbock ISD and be an assistant principal. And so that's part of the letter of intent. But the other piece is we have about 21 letters of intents for either recent college graduates, or we have a couple that from the job fair that have already been teaching and they're certified. We don't know exactly where they're going because we're finishing staffing, but they've committed, yes, I want to come to Lubbock ISD. Here's my top 4 choices of where I want to be. But they also know that that may not be where they land up, but they're committed to coming here because they want to be a part of Lubbock ISD. So I'm really super excited about that piece. And I think our principals have been super excited too about making sure we get some of those recent college graduates. So.
How many?
Great.
Certified.
Go on.
Ahead. Go ahead, Marianne.
How many ambassadors do we have, approximately?
I think we had 11 or 12 there. And one of the things with that, I think it worked so well that the PD, Beth and her team talked about having the ambassadors also for Strong Start. So it was just real good to have those faces greeting our people.
Doing all this earlier, I think, has helped. So thank you. And those letters of intent, I've had some positive feedback from a candidate that was delighted to have that in hand.
Yes,
So.
yes, great. Okay.
I would think that several teachers who get into this profession, I mean, I think Ryan kind of alluded to this earlier, probably have a thought in their brain or an aspiration that I want to do more, I want to be an AP or a principal someday. And I would think a lot of districts probably don't have the infrastructure in place or the tools that are I mean, especially at the interview process or the job fair, stage where they can't really see a path to get there. So, something that we're about to talk about, progress measures, is obviously why we do all this and build that leadership. And so, one of my, favorite things about the work that you all are doing is, you're putting this infrastructure in place so that, after you've finished your careers, that's, the framework is there. Other people can follow that. After this board is gone, they'll have the benefit of all the work that's being done right now to continue keeping the district, strong and relevant.
Sustainability and very clear systems approach so that it lives on beyond any of us.
Thank you all. Moving on, I'd like to invite Kim Callison, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, to the podium with regard to progress measures. I'm going to get some coffee real quick, Kim. So. Everybody's going to get coffee, Kim.
Thank you.
Oh, Marianne, hello. Hello.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As always, it's an honor for me to update you on how our students are doing academically. You're going to see lots of celebrations today, and then some areas, of course, that we need to focus on as we move towards the STAR test that our students are going to be taking in 3, 4, and 5 short weeks. I want to remind you that this particular assessment for the third 9 weeks is what we call the benchmark, and it is a full-blown STAR test. So in the last 2 9 weeks, excuse me, the last 2 9 weeks have been shorter. They have been just based on that 9 weeks worth of learning. This particular assessment is over the course of the entire year, so it is more comprehensive. It's a lot longer and requires a little bit higher level of stamina for our students. So you guys set a North Star goal back in 2022 that we communicate and live by in the world of academics, and that is that 80% of our students will be at the MEETS level by 2026. And so as we look today, that is the goal that we're striving for. In the last 4 years that I've been in this role, we have moved from a C to a B district. And so we're really proud of that work, and we continue to grow our students, especially as the assessment changes, becomes more challenging, and as the scores required for growth continue to grow. So let's look at third grade math first of all. The goal is obviously, but by the STAR test, when we get the results back in June, but that we're taking next month, that will move our students at the MEETS level to 60%. I want to orient you to the graph. The blue bar is this 9 weeks, this year's 9 weeks assessment. The red is last year's, and the yellow is the STAR test from last year. So you can see at third grade, we're a little bit below where we were last year at this time. It is the same test, but it is a different group of students. And we'll look at growth here in a little bit as well for fourth on up. But with our third graders, this is the first time that they have taken and seen a test in its entirety. So as you can imagine, for an 8-year-old, that's pretty overwhelming. One of the things that I do want to point out for math is when they take this test, we still have 5 weeks of instruction left until the actual STAR test. So they haven't gotten through all the content yet. So in third grade, they still have about 15 to 17% of the content that they're going to go through over the next 3 weeks. And then they'll have about 2 weeks of intense review before they take the test at the end of April. So you can see we have a little bit of work, and this is really our biggest area at elementary that we're targeting because we didn't see, we're not where we were last year. So we're digging into this with our teachers to really determine what standards are they missing and what gaps do we need to fill over the next few weeks. Fourth grade math, while we were down at approaches, what's really exciting is that we had more kids that scored at the MEETS level. So we're actually up 7 points from where we were last year at this time, and almost at that STAR level at MEETS. You can also see that our master's students, the number of master's students, or percent rather, also went up by 5% from last year. Fifth grade math is holding steady where we were at last year. Oh, and I wanted to say on fourth grade, they still have over 20% of the content left to teach. Fourth grade is heavy in new content. You'll see that at fourth and then again at sixth and seventh. And so they still have quite a bit of content left, and we're already outperforming where we were at last year. In fifth grade, most of the content has been taught in fifth grade. We're holding steady at where we were last year, a little bit below where we were at for STAR, but once again, we've got about 5 weeks that the teachers will be working with our students to get them up and push them where they need to be for the test. Third grade reading, our board goal, because we do have a board goal in third grade, is 60%. And you can see that we are at 76%. I'm on the wrong page. We're at 74%, and that's where we were last year, and that is right below where we were at STAR. When the students took the reading benchmark, it was about 2 weeks ago. They typically take reading first because they have to grade the writing. And so actually they had about 5 weeks between the benchmark and the STAR test. So they have been working on those skills that they saw as a deficit as a result of this assessment. And once we get back from break, they will launch into their rocking review. And so you can see we have a little ways to go to get where we were at on STAR last year, and we want to exceed that. In 4th grade reading, you can see once again we're higher in meets and masters than we were last year. We're almost even where we were at on STAR in our meets level for 4th grade reading, so that certainly is a celebration there. 5th grade reading, we are right where we were at for meets last year, right below where we ended up on STAR. So you can see masters were a little bit ahead of where we were last year. Approaches is down, but once again, meets and masters are right where we were at or above. 5th grade science is an interesting test to look at. Once again, meets and masters is up, but our approaches was down. The science test has changed. This is the first year that all standards will be new standards will be taught. Some of those standards were taught in 3rd and 4th grade only, and they're not taught in 5th grade. So our campuses right now are really digging into what are those standards they need to go back and review for the science test. The science test is going to look different this year. It's actually shorter. It's only going to be about 25 questions, and it is based on the new standards entirely. So we are doing a lot of review. I know our campuses, a lot of the campuses have Saturday science days and really targeting those standards that perhaps they haven't had in a couple of years and they need to review. All right, that is our synopsis of elementary. You want to ask any questions about elementary?
So did you say on 5th grade science, some of the things they're being tested on, they haven't been taught in a year or two?
Some of the standards are from 3rd grade and 4th grade. So we built that in as a review.
Yeah.
With the change in standards 2 years ago, the standards got moved around, so we're playing catch up in some of those. And so we're going back and targeting those that we know might be missed. And that's why it's so very important. We focus so heavily on reading and math in 3rd and 4th grade, but we cannot leave out science because those standards will show up on the 5th grade test.
Kim, this may be a silly question, but how did we benchmark science if the test is new?
We did use last year's test, but we know that it may look a little bit different, but we did use last year's test.
I don't necessarily understand as far as the content calendar, if that's a good way to state that, but like you said some were done. I think 5th grade you said 5th grade reading
Pretty
was
much with
done,
the math is pretty much
math.
done. Yes, sir.
So is there a way, would it make sense to try to figure out a way in future years to change to where everybody's done, you know, say January or middle of February where you have more weeks? Like, I don't understand why 5th's done and 3rd's not, I guess is, and I'm not saying there's a problem with that.
Sure.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me how 2 weeks from a test we're still, you know.
Yes,
Part
sir.
of it's the amount of content and
And
standards.
the number of standards in certain grade levels are heavier than others. So we've looked at different ways. You know, we've moved the benchmark up and back and forth before. We also don't want it too late because we want them to be able to respond to that data. It is a frustration for sure. We work our pacing calendar to try to get through it as quickly as we can, so we do give them that opportunity for some review, but we're constantly looking at it every year to see if we can shave off any time to give them a little bit more. Yes,
Well, that
sir.
makes sense. I know some kids, you know, God gave me a photogenic memory. So like if I learned something once, I could figure it out again. But I know some kids, like if you're teaching something to them in late August, good luck in May,
Right.
or April.
And math really builds on itself, and so making sure that we don't, if there are any gaps, we've got to get back and get those as soon as possible. So we do that during our intervention time, but we also know right before the test, we know that there's maybe still some gaps, and so we work on those standards, kind of crashing it in at the last minute too. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to Robin. She's going to talk about secondary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Kim.
I have some good news for you. I don't have great news, and I'm not going to be satisfied until I can stand here and give you great news. But I am going to do my best this time. I feel like last time, what some might call cynicism, and I call just a relentless pursuit for excellence. But I felt that perhaps my realism eclipsed some of the real growth that we were seeing, and we have that here today. We have good news, some real growth, some real progress, but I'm also going to be real with you about our continued areas of struggle. So let's get going. If you recall, the last time I stood before you, I told you that in 6th grade math, we were down in all data points. And I have good news to share with you this time. We are actually up 10 percentage points in our approaches level. We held steady in meets. We're down a little bit in masters, but I went into the data. That's 158 more students than last time who have crossed a threshold and are performing better in math in 6th grade. So that's good news. When we get back from spring break, we still have 5 weeks. Teachers and students will still have 5 weeks remaining for them to continue working. So I am encouraged. I'm going to be real with you. I'm still on the fence about where we're going to land for STAR, but I am encouraged that if we were at 68% approaches, 33 and 13, that with 5 more weeks of instruction and review, we will meet, and I'm hoping to exceed where we were last year. As we move into, before we look at our chronic and persistent concern, my highest priority, just let me remind you about our 7th grade transition plan. Recall that in years past, if you were in 6th grade, regardless of whether you took on-level or advanced classes, you took the 6th grade STAR. And in 7th grade, regardless of whether you took 7th on-level or 7th advanced, you took the 7th grade STAR. We changed that last year. And we said if you were in 7th advanced, you would begin, we did this last year and moving forward, you would take the 8th grade STAR instead. And the reason we made that change is because of the accelerated scope and sequence in our advanced math courses in middle school. So, for example, half of the 7th grade curriculum is taught in 6th advanced. The other half of the 7th grade curriculum is taught in 7th advanced. But then the 8th grade curriculum in its entirety is taught in 7th advanced, so they're ready to move into Algebra 1 in middle school. Because the entire 8th grade curriculum is taught in 7th advanced, we felt it best and a way for us to encourage high expectations that they will test up to the 8th grade test instead of testing down. The consequence of that, and we knew it from the onset, we talked about it, is that our 7th grade on-level scores stand alone without any 7th advanced scores getting averaged in. So when we look at our chronic year-over-year greatest concern, 7th on-level math is it. We are not making the progress that we hope to see. We had 17% approach, 4% meets. We had no students master at the on-level 7th grade level. As I anticipated standing here in front of you, I thought to myself, if I were in your shoes, what would I wonder? One thing that maybe you're thinking is, well, did we make the right decision with STEM scopes? I know we changed the curriculum, doesn't appear to be working. Did we make the right decision? A bigger question that maybe I would ask if I were in your shoes is why? Why is this looking like this? And how can we fix it? I remember we talked about that last time, Mr. Wedeggy. I remember you asking me, so if we had all the money in the world, which I know we don't and we are good stewards of our funds, but if we had all the money, what would we do? I've really taken that to heart. I remember you saying that to me, and I remember it. I remember you saying to me, Mr. Curry, about athletics. And sometimes we have a cohort of kids that are less gifted in some ways, but when it's year over year. And yes, sir, you're exactly right. This is a persistent high priority concern. So if I could, since this is our greatest concern, I would like to kind of address those two questions that I anticipate maybe you're curious about. And then if you've got others, you sure can hit me with them. STEM scopes, let's talk about that first. There are only a handful of instructional materials that have been approved by the state of Texas through a process called the Instructional Materials Review and Approval Process, short for IMRA. And that is a year-long process that vendors must go through to be approved. We have had teachers serve, like they apply to be IMRA reviewer. We've had teachers in Lubbock ISD who have worked for them for a full year reviewing materials. There are two incredibly in-depth rubrics. One's called suitability and the other's called quality. And STEM Scope scored a 100% on both of those rubrics, earning 227 points out of a possible 227 points. They scored a 100% on alignment to TEKS. So I can say with confidence to you that we are using a high quality instructional material for middle school. I think back to 3 years ago when I first was onboarding into this role and we were using the OG HQIM, we were using Carnegie. That was the very first high quality instructional material rolled out by Texas. And our scores look similar. And we thought, we're not using the right instructional material. We maybe need to reboot it. We maybe need to talk to teachers about buy-in. And we did that. That was one of my very first tasks was let's talk to teachers, let's find out. And we discovered very early on last year that the buy-in for that curriculum, Carnegie here in Lubbock ISD, was dead, and that we needed to pull teacher leaders and campus administrators together. We needed to let them look at other choices and make the decision. And that was the process we went through last year. But in that flux, we gave campuses some real flexibility of, we know Carnegie's not working, we have yet to pick another HQIM. You've got some flexibility to pick materials that you think are suitable, that you think will be effective. And our scores last year look similar to this. So when I think through, we've used Carnegie, we've let them have a little bit more flexibility to pick whatever, and now it's STEM scopes. The problem, in my opinion, is not the instructional material. I don't think the problem that we have is centered around the what we are using. Curriculum is not a medicine we can take to cure an ailment. It's not like it's not working. It's only as good as the implementation. And there are so many other root causes that are impacting implementation, some that are within our control and some that are without. So that leads me to the second question, the why. Why is it? If it's not the curriculum, why? And we are learning the curriculum, so let me put that caveat in. Nothing's perfect. We are learning it. We are studying it. What would the other reasons be? I am happy at any time you want to have a conversation, we can go, I can nerd out with you on this for as long as you want to. For now, let me just offer a few things. The first one is out of our control, and so I hesitate to even mention it because I like to focus on what we can fix. But 7th grade in particular has some of the highest cut points of any, in fact, they do have the highest for secondary. And the best way I can explain that to you is, traditionally we think a 70 is passing, and then, an 80 is a B or a 90 is an A or that kind of thing. That is not how STAR works. These are scaled scores. And so I won't bore you with the statistics of this, nor do I really understand it, if I'm going to be honest with you. But as scaled scores, what that means is that they fluctuate from grade level to grade level. So the cut points in 4th grade are not the same as the cut points in 5th. They're not the same in 7th. They're not the same. They're not the same from reading to math, to science, to social studies, nor are they the same year after year. So the cut points we had last year may not be the cut points that we have this year, okay? So that's a little bit using the athletic analogy of, is it a 5-yard penalty every time? Well, it might be 6 yards. Who knows this year? It might be 7, it might be 4. So that is challenging in the 7th grade level. Calculator use, very strict regulations on the use of a calculator in 7th, and those expectations, those regulations loosen for 8th and for Algebra 1. So there are things, we can't control those impact the whole state of Texas, but it makes it difficult from a teacher's perspective. Like they're not all vying to teach 7th grade on level. I can say that. So doesn't impact our kids in the classroom right now, and I can't change that is what I'm saying. So what are other factors that are within our influence? One root cause is the number of inexperienced teachers that we have teaching 7th grade math. Of the 13 teachers currently teaching on level 7th grade math, 8 of them have less than 3 years experience in the classroom. And so we recognize that. We recognize that we not only need to be providing professional development on math content knowledge, but also best practices, pedagogy, and how to teach math, because that is a disproportionately large number of new teachers teaching 7th grade math. And then a third root cause that I might just mention, Kim alluded to it earlier, that there's a disproportionately large number of content standards that are brand new in 6th and 7th grade. And so, Ryan, to your question earlier, why can we get it all taught so we've got plenty of time for review? When there are 30 standards or 40 standards to cover in a year, we can make that happen. But when there are 80, it just takes longer. And those are not equal numbers from grade level to grade level. And 6th and 7th grade are heavy, and they're critically important. So it's kind of a perfect storm. And so what we are doing, we're working on things within our sphere of control. We are having, in addition to content co-op, we are having professional development days called STEM Scopes in Action. We pulled 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade teachers just yesterday to look at the remainder of the year, trying again to work on math content knowledge and pedagogy. We are continuing our Math Ambassadors program. That has been a hit. It is a time to bring lead teachers, those influencers together, build buy-in and community there, and then they take it back to their campuses. That is working very well, and we are hoping to continue it next year. We are strategically coaching from our small but mighty office, trying to go out there and work in the places where we can make the greatest impact. And then I understand, I won't speak to it because it's not my place, but I understand there's going to be a middle school task force that we're going to convene around this problem, and I'm not going to come empty-handed. I'm going to come, I already have it actually, but if you want to see it sometime, I'm happy to talk with you about it. But I've got a list of, okay, what are some out-of-the-box innovative ideas? They may cost us some money, but if this is our greatest pain point, and I'm not just brainstorming the moon, I'm letting research guide that work with the help of Kim and the rest of our team. So I'm coming to that meeting loaded for bear. You want to stop there before I move on, or would you like me to keep going? Keep going? All right, I promise.
has a question.
Oh, you have a question? Yes, sir.
I was just going to provide some anecdotal evidence to
Please do.
What you're communicating here. So I happen to have a 7th grader who is going through this, and her brand new teacher administered the district assessment this past week, and the average, and she's in the algebra side, though she's not on the on level, but to your point, I think the average test score was a 48, and she got a copy of the district assessment, took it to her tutor, and her tutor looked at it and said, oh yeah, there's about 30% of this you haven't even seen yet. And so, I mean, just some support for everything you're saying, and thank you for, your effort in trying to work with what we can control on that.
Beth saying earlier, you put your heart and soul into these things. That's where my heart and soul's living, right? Trying to fix what can we do, because I see our teachers working so hard. They are giving it everything they've got. And so how can we help them? How can we have that relentless pursuit for excellence here? We can talk, anybody, I hate to move on, because I know this is a really big deal. We good? I promise I won't spend this length of time on every slide. That is a promise. I will make you. Okay, so let's keep going. 8th grade math, this was a little disappointing to me, but I will try to keep my cynicism to myself. We are down just a little bit in approaches, meets, and masters here. We did pull yesterday, like I said, the 8th grade teachers together. So we had a impromptu PLC with all of them in the room to try to understand this. And the best way I can summarize it for you is the fall semester was a whole lot of foundational skills, but remember the STAR test, which is what this is. We took the STAR test from 2025, requires conceptual development, fluency, and automaticity, and it also requires in my opinion, the most important application. When we see things in new and novel ways, can we apply what we've learned? We had some great thorough conversations. We'll be real with you. Us meeting that board goal is kind of up in the air for me right now, but please know we're doing everything in our due diligence to make that happen. Algebra 1 at middle school, we are outperforming where we were on STAR. We have 91% approaches, 57% meets, 35% masters. Those numbers for the STAR, the yellow bar, those include everyone that's taken the STAR test, so that means middle school and high school Algebra 1. That's the way the state reports that to us. That can then be a little misleading. So as we compare middle school to algebra, it looks like our high school algebra is underperforming, but keep in mind that means that 74%, the yellow bar, those are our Algebra 1 kids that took it accelerated in middle school, combined with those that were in on-level 8th grade and are now taking Algebra 1 in high school. So the better way I can show you is all algebra put together. This third slide, I think, is the more apples to apples comparison. So this is when we put all the children that took Algebra 1, regardless of whether they were in middle school or high school, when we put them all together, you can see that we are already trending above where we were on STAR last year. For approaches, we are right flat with meets, maybe 1 point below where we were at STAR, and we're already trending above at Masters with 5 weeks of instruction still left to go, so I'm feeling very confident there. Pivoting over to reading, when we think about 6th grade RLA, last time I stood before you, we were down in all 3 data points, and you can see that we are up a percentage point, which is about 35 kids, like that, just for your knowledge. We're up equal with where we were on STAR last year, as you compare blue bar to yellow bar. We are down a little, 3 percentage points, that's about 90 children. In meets, we're up in masters. When we come back from spring break now, our 6th grade teachers in RLA will begin what we used to call Rock and Review, but STAR Review, and this is where we paid a consultant in January to come in, not only to train us in some, it's been a while since we brought in some outside consultants to help us really target on the new STAR and new STAR 2.0. So she worked with us in January, and we trained in February, and it launches when we come back from spring break. It will be a very intensive 2-week STAR review, and so I'm hopeful there. 7th grade reading, we are above where we were last year, and also the yellow bar of STAR in all 3 categories. So, and isn't that interesting? Those are the same students, 7th grade math. These, of course, we don't have 7th on level and 7th advanced for reading. These are all students combined. But to me, this just shows our kids can. Our kids can. 8th grade reading, you can see that we are at 76% approaches, 45% meets, 18% masters. That's trending a little bit below, a little bit above where we were this time a year ago, but a little bit below STAR. I don't want to misspeak. In meets and masters, it's also just trending a little bit low. Again, Rock and Review will start. We not only trained ourselves, but we trained teacher leaders from the middle school campuses, and then we trained everybody at Content Co-op. So we have overlapped in every way we can think of how to be sure that Rock and Review is robust. Do you remember last time, and it's okay if you don't, I do. I told you that when we had January Content Co-op, and I went into the high school English planning rooms, that the buzz in there, the electricity, I called it collective teacher efficacy, that they, even though last time the data I reported to you was a little bit low, I told you they're going to be okay, because when I walked in that room and I saw how driven they were to, like nobody had to prompt them, they were on a mission. It shows in our data this. Yeah. So when I look here and I think, last year at STAR we were at 64%, and it's the same test as last year, and now we're at 74, and Rock and Review hasn't happened yet. Same for meets, we're up. Masters is exactly equal with STAR, and I project it will be even higher. I hope it will be. English 2, same thing. Those driven, thank you to our English 1 and English 2 teachers across the district. We are trending beautifully in English 2. 8th grade science is the same as Kim mentioned with 5th grade science. There are standards on this test that were taught in 6th and taught in 7th that will be tested on the 8th grade STAR that are not part of the scope and sequence for an 8th grade teacher. They're really trusting and relying on their 6th grade and their 7th grade counterparts to teach those concepts well. We know that you can't wait 3 years and try to remember moon phases or that type of thing, so we have built those in as spiral reviews, as bell ringers, as reminders. But you can see that thus far we are exceeding expectations in 8th grade science. Biology, the same thing. You can see that we're at 92%, same test, different children, but as you compare blue bar to yellow bar, we are already above where we were on STAR by just a tad, but we're also above where we were on STAR at meets and masters for our biology. 8th grade social studies is I don't want to be cynical, but it's an opportunity for growth, I will say that. We are trending, we're higher in approaches than we were on STAR and in meets and masters, but we've taken a dip from 3rd 9 weeks benchmark last year. We've identified with the help of principals where we need to be strategic about support, and Stacy Acevedo, my social studies specialist, is in fact tutoring children herself. She's going to campuses, and where she can, she's pulling small groups to try to fill the gaps. And I almost had a heart attack when I saw this, to just be really real with you. I thought, what happened? U.S. history is one of our shining star areas, and why in the world are we down so much at meets and masters? So I really did almost have a heart attack, and I had to call the academic deans of the high school together because I thought, have we had some serious resignations that I didn't know about, or what is happening? Turns out that what happened this year and why the data is looking so drastically different is last year, the students enrolled in advanced placement U.S. history, we call it APUSH, AP U.S. history. Those students last year took the benchmark. So that's the red bars. This year, the APUSH teachers opted out at several of our large high schools from taking this district assessment. I did not know about that, and that's why it caused me a heart attack. I understand why they did, though, because of my experience at Monterey. The scope and sequence for APUSH is determined by College Board, and it does not align to the Texas scope and sequence, and the standards are not the same. And so sometimes we ask APUSH teachers to give that assessment just so we'll have some knowledge of what the kids know and don't know, but they've not necessarily taught it in class. And so this year, the APUSH teachers, in a very noble attempt, I understand their why, in a noble attempt to reduce testing fatigue on their kids, because those kids will be taking their AP exam and they'll be taking STAR, they just wanted to reduce one more very long test. And so I understand the why. We've had some conversations with the deans to be proactive about that decision-making process for next year so it doesn't catch anybody off guard. But please don't worry or freak out too much on those blue bars. It's going to be okay.
But they all took the STAR last year?
They will take the STAR, yes,
But
sir.
the red took the STAR last year?
Well, the red
Yes,
last
yes.
year is the benchmark. They took the third 9
Yes,
weeks deal.
yes,
Last
they
year they
took the
took
STAR.
it.
Yes.
And the yellow bar is STAR. Yes, they will take it again.
Because my only concern on this graph is that we did better on the benchmark last year than the STAR. That's the first graph.
Well,
That's
you're
the
not-
first graph that we've,
Yeah.
it's been flipped. That's
Yeah.
why I asked if they,
Yes.
I thought maybe they just took the benchmark and not the STAR.
No, they take both.
And if I can just like speak from my experience in Monterey, it always makes me very nervous because it's hard to collect data when the scope and sequence, like when I say the standards are different, I really mean they're different. They are teaching different things. It's still U.S. history, of course, but not tested standards are included in College Board advanced placement. And so I'm always, it's a little bit harder. Like in the other ones, we monitor data so closely, I can tell you if we're on track or not on track. This one, but you're very good point. Yes, it's just harder to track and know. And I think that finishes me, correct? Yes. All right.
I have 2 quick slides before Kami
Can I
gives
say
progress
something?
updates on.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say
sorry.
something, Robin,
Sorry,
real
Nancy.
quick, and this is just for me. But I don't think don't apologize for being cynical. You're being realistic, and I think I can read my colleagues pretty well. we appreciate being realistic because you don't just leave it there. You solve the problem and find root causes. So don't apologize. I think that's just being real. So thank you.
I'm sorry that took a little longer than it should have.
No.
Yes, we're going to be super.
I would argue it's our greatest
Yes.
opportunity across the board. So if we're not focusing on where our greatest opportunities are, we're probably not doing a very good job of.
Yes.
Exactly.
We agree. And we know we have to get to insurance, so we're about to be very zippy
Okay.
on
Yes.
the remainder
Where's
of.
Miss Finger?
Yeah, she is going to be
Dr. Finger
so
is going to be
fast.
very
It is
fast.
going to be amazing.
Oh, Dr. Finger.
Okay, I have two quick slides. Just looking at growth data. This is growth, same group of kids from last year on STAR to this benchmark. So same kids and same tests. We know our pain point is that middle school math, but you can see lots of growth in some other grade levels in math and then across the board in RLA. So we're very pleased with that. And then lastly, just some action steps, most of which Robin has already covered. We're working with our executive principals, and they're working closely with the principals to hone in on those intervention plans, tutoring, Saturday schools, if schools are choosing to do that, and just using the time wisely during the school day. As she said, we've got a middle school task force that we are convening, and we're actually looking at summer programming at the request of middle school principals to kind of further build that culture on the campus. And I will turn it over to Kami.
Thank you, Kim. Hello again. Hi. Forgive my voice. We had a birthday party last night, and we sent our swine exhibit off this morning at 5:30. So
Do
Greg.
every other slide. Well, and say that voice.
Oh.
No, just okay. That's right.
Okay. Are you ready?
You're gonna have to go first one of these days, so that way you don't get picked on.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. Okay, so your school support and special services discipline and behavior update. Please remember when I show you this data, we had a change with House Bill 6 to Chapter 37. Don't forget your cell phone technology violations and your new vaping rules as it applies to removals. And so here we go. You can see the trend line for the last 3 years. The current 9 weeks is your turquoise line. You see that it fluctuates through the 9 weeks. The fourth week, very much up, and then we trend down through that 9-week period. Most of those could be, if like we measured the Y around that, most of those are cell phone violations and vaping removals. And so total discipline incidences are up. As you can see, expulsion is down. Also down are placements to our DAEPs. Out-of-school suspension is also down. What is up is in-school suspension. Why is that? That's because we're sending kids to in-school suspension for cell phone violations and vape. Notice the trend in this conversation. Elementary schools, you'll see a decrease, a change from 24-25 by 16%, an increase in high school by 28%. Why is that? Because of vaping and cell phone violations. Middle school, you see that we actually have a reduction in middle schools from last year by 3%. And so this is organizational breakdown. These are campuses. What do we do with this data? We use this data to have conversations in our 9-week data meetings as to why there might be an increase. We break that down by behavior. We talk about, is it because we have a teacher who's over-referring? Maybe we have an adjunct who's struggling with classroom management, or maybe we have issues with school-wide systems that we need to shore up. And so that's your fluctuation. We also have some school optimization impact in this data as well. And so those campuses are working to calibrate and develop systems for larger populations of students. Incident by grade, our pre-K through 5th grade numbers are lower than they have been in quite some time. Obviously, national research shows spikes during that age 11 through 15. So those 6th graders and those 9th graders still have not fully developed their frontal lobe. And so we continue working on regulating our behavior. All right, you've got elementary violations of student code of conduct. Remember, that's everything from dress code violations to leaving your seat without permission to talking too much in class, mainly amongst our boys, profanity occasionally, and some horseplay.
Others, like insubordination, that's our refusal behavior or continuing behavior in the classroom that doesn't stop despite what the teacher is asking. And so I'll talk about those numbers in just a minute as far as how it impacts the district. This is your middle school data. Classroom disruption, insubordination, and profanity are our top behaviors. And so that again just goes back to talking too much, making noises, moving around class without permission. And then high school, obviously, winner, chicken dinner is your violation of technology policies, and then truancy, which we're working on. Please remember, 28% of the increase that we see is because of cell phone violations and vaping. We do campus walks. We have 500 responses to over 100 walkthroughs that we've completed. We look at behavior expectations, whether they're posted. We see that at 68%. And then we look at how the teacher is running through her behavioral expectations as far as classroom management goes. So we want them talking about how long the students have during transitions, how long they have for activities, what the noise level should be, what students should be doing, what that looks like, sounds like, and we measure those. So when we see a problem with that, we're going to coach that teacher and work with her on those areas to ensure that she's doing those things. That includes also active monitoring. 72.4% of our teachers are doing that consistently, and so we're appreciating that. But what we're seeing students do in large part is they are in fact actively engaged. The rest of those percentages, you can see the breakdown there. Ritually compliant means those students who just come to school and do what they're told regardless. And then we have a continuation of that when it comes to our teachers giving attention signals. Are they making sure they're getting the class to settle down before they move on during their instructional processes? For example, class, or give me 5, and they count down till it's time to shift. Overall classroom management style, we look at, is our teacher permissive? Are they neglectful? Are they too authoritative? Or are we lacking data when we walk in the class because maybe they're transitioning to lunch? We take note of that too if we're not able to make a determination. And if we have a teacher whose teaching style is hurting their classroom management, then we have a conversation about how to adjust that. Our system strength and refinement are our PBIS handbooks, where we track 9-week data. We break our kids down by tier. We talk about interventions and individual student plans. We do better teaching support by identifying our students at the campus level. We started a program called Strong Program with Irons and Atkins, identifying tier 3 teachers there that need intensive support. So we do walkthroughs in their classroom. We do weekly training based on what we see in their classroom and provide feedback to them. And then next year we plan to replicate that across all middle school campuses. Brian Ellison is up for your DAP update.
Thank you. Good morning. Morning. So we all know that vapes and cell phones are causing an increase in behavior on campuses, but we are not seeing that at DAEP. So the interventions that the campuses are putting in place are working. Our DAEP placements are down from the previous 9 weeks, or the third 9 weeks of last year. We were down. The only increase that you see on this board was our repeat. We had a slight increase there, but everything else was down. This is a running total throughout the year. So right now we are down by 210 placements total. And then you see it broken down by middle and high school. This is a breakdown of how many placements each campus at the middle school level has had and a percentage of campus enrollment. Same at the high school level. And then we look at, so we had a total for the third 9 weeks. We had, so remember there was a separation in, because of House Bill 6, there was a separation in vapes and drugs. So last year, drugs could have been a THC vape, or this year a vape is a vape. It doesn't matter if it's a nicotine vape or a THC vape. And so we separated that out. So we only had 12 drug incidences for the third 9 weeks, but we had 198 e-cigarette or vape incidences, and then for a total of 210. So for the total number that was placed at PIA in the third 9 weeks for either a drug or a vape offense was 58. And then total number placed in ISS was 152. So the first semester we had 56 for a second vape offense. Combined drug or vape offense was 120. And then the number of students placed in ISS with a drug intervention for the first semester was 346 students within the secondary level. And then this is a list that you guys have seen. I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Trout. He continues to do some really great things at PIA and making sure that we've got systems in place, that we're keeping kids safe. And you know, his pickup system is unique to his campus, and he's got a really strong team that's helping support him there. And then we are continuing to implement we've added the opioid grant, continued focus on recidivism, and then making sure that we are checking in with our middle school principals on doing a fall check-in, and now we'll continue with our spring check-ins. All right. Questions?
No, I just, you know, I joke every time Amy comes up here, but both to you and Brian, just y'all's team. I know there's a lot of people behind this magic. What y'all present directly correlates to what Kim and Robin went over previously, and so I think the board understands that and knows that. I wish our community might wrap their hands around that more, because I think the fact that we're dealing with so many of these problems, you know, it's a challenge in the classroom for them to focus on meeting these standards or content areas or whatever y'all talked about earlier. And so while I joke, I realize that is a huge part of how we're going to get better in a lot of other areas. So thank you guys for what y'all do, and especially Brian with I've heard a lot of comments. I've said this before, but I think the way that you've engaged parents when they've come to us with level ones or just complaints in general, I've heard a lot of great comments, and I think that helps avoid maybe some areas where it might progress and waste a bunch of people's time when you can solve their problem or at least explain the situation to them. So thank you very much. I will now invite Lisa Thompson, Executive Director of Payroll and Risk Management. Lisa, I don't want to put you on the clock, but bring us on home.
I can wind it up. So this year we bid out the property and equipment insurance, and we're pleased to bring forward, that's just the schematic of the process. We did a best and final offer request and had interviews. So the final numbers are what you see there. Policy begins April 1st, deductible. We did have a decrease in our wind and hail percentage deductible, our coverage limit, $250 million, the insured value over $1.5 billion, reduce of our premium will take about $1 million reduced in our premium. The biggest thing that set Gallagher aside, we had 3 bids, actually 2 really good bids that set Gallagher aside, was the margin capacity. That means more coverage, and especially with building new schools and everything, we've got to adjust to that and the increased cost and the coverage. So that's what set them aside. That's it, if you have any questions.
We just, from a timing standpoint, there's not an operations committee meeting prior to you guys approving this, considering approving this.
Yes.
So that's why we asked her to present this today. But $1 million less.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge.
Yes,
Complain
huge.
about that.
Any questions or concerns? All right, there you go.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, Lisa. Okay. An executive closed session will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. It is 8:57 a.m. and we are adjourned to closed session. For those in the audience, I do not believe we'll have action, so feel free to go to work.